In this video, we're going to graph sinusoidal functions using transformations or the method of key points. I'm going to be using the method of key points. So let me go ahead and use my whiteboard over here to do some of the scratch work that I need to make the graph. We're starting off with a cosine function. So we're going to start off with a maximum, then a 0, then a minimum, and then a 0, and then a maximum. And each of those, I'll tell you how far apart they're going to be in just a second. So let's find our amplitude now. This is a cosine of 6, or a 6 cosine of x. Okay, so amplitude is equal to the absolute value of 6 is 6. We have no omega, it's a 1 there, so my period is 2 pi over omega is 2 pi over 1 is 2 pi. And that makes my step, which is how far I move between each characteristic or key point, my original period divided by my my t divided by my 4 here, my period divided by 4 because there's 4 steps that I'm going to take. That's going to be pi over 2. So I'm going to start my first point at 0, and then this one's going to be at pi over 2, then at pi, then 3 pi over 2, and then at 2 pi. And I can go the other way as well, and I will on my graph. My maximum value is going to be 6. Now I'm coming back to a 0. My minimum will be -6. Then I'll be back at a 0, and then I'll be back at my maximum of 6. So let's draw this period that goes to the right first. 0, 6, and then pi over 2 is right there, halfway between 0 and pi. And then at pi, I'm at -6. And then at 3 pi over 2, I'm back at 0. And at 2 pi, I'm back at 6. I can go to the left, like I said, and I'll, from this maximum, have a 0, then a minimum, then a 0, then a maximum. So 0, minimum, 0, maximum. Let's see how I do at sketching this curve. The computer is much better at this part than I am, as is the calculator. But there you go, and it should be turning there and ready to come back down, and it should be turning here and ready to come back down. Stick some arrows on the end there because the pattern goes on forever and ever. So my domain is going to be -infinity to infinity. My range is going to go from -6 to 6, and those are going to be included because there's points there. Clear? Now I did not set my scale here. If it were up to me, I would have drawn this so that I would have had one full period on the right, and I would have made this go out to, let's see, out to 2 pi, which it is, and 1 full period on the left to 2 pi. So that's good. I just would have made my tick marks so there only would have been my tick marks at the characteristics. I wouldn't have made my tick marks at every pi over 4. I would have made them pi over 2. But that's up to you when you get your graph paper how you want to make that. Now this is y equals sine of negative 8x. I told you before we don't ever want omega to be negative and to use your even odd properties to make sure that it's positive before we do any calculations or any graphing. So we're going to change the function into this. That means that my amplitude is going to be the absolute value of -1 is 1. And my omega now is 8, which makes my period equal to 2 pi over 8 is pi over 4. And that makes my step equal to pi over 16. And so again, I didn't make this this scale, but that means that I'm actually going to have to go halfway between tick marks here to get a step. That's okay. That's better than having a weird number here like 7 that it's impossible to figure out where to go with these tick marks that they made in increments of pi over 8. So pi over 16 isn't bad because pi over 16 is half of pi over 8. So let's go ahead and talk about the sine function. It's going to start at a 0. And then it's going to go to a minimum because this has a negative leading coefficient. And then it's going to go to a 0. And then it's going to go to a maximum. And then it's going to go back down to a 0. These are going to be at, there is no horizontal shift, so this is at 0, 0. And then we're going to go to pi over 16. And then the minimum is going to be at -1. And then this is going to be at pi over 8. And this is going to be back at 0. And then this is going to be 3 pi over 16. And that's going to be at 1. And 2, 3, 4 pi over 16 is pi over 4. And that's back at 0. And I may do a couple periods here just to show you. So 0, 0. And then pi over 16, -1. And then pi over 8, 0. 3 pi over 16, 1. And then pi over 4, 0. And we'll just keep doing that until we run out of space here. So minimum 0, maximum 0, minimum 0, maximum 0, 0, minimum 0, maximum 0, minimum 0, maximum 0, and it's just going to look like this. Again, I didn't choose the scale, so sorry. And then maximum 0, minimum 0, maximum 0, minimum 0, maximum 0, minimum 0, maximum 0, minimum 0, and so on. But it's going to look that and connect. And it's just going to go on forever and ever in both directions. The domain is negative infinity to infinity, and the range is -1 to 1. Let's hope this one is a little bit better for graphing. So y equals 2 cosine x plus 3. This time we are going to have a vertical shift that I'll call b. So this is going to be, my amplitude is going to be absolute value of 2 is 2. My omega is 1, so my period is 2 pi over 1 is 2 pi, making my step equal to that period over 4, since it's cosine, is going to be pi over 2. And my vertical shift is going to be 3. So I'm going to start off with my points of what key points for 2 cosine x. I'm going to figure that out first. And this is going to be starting off at a max, then a 0, then a min, then a 0, and then a max, because it's a cosine function. And so this point is going to be at 0, 2, and then it's going to be at pi over 2, 0, then pi -2, then 3 pi over 2, 0, and then 2 pi 2. And I need to add 3 to all of these for y equals 2 cosine of x plus 3. So that's going to be 0, 5, pi over 2, 3, pi 1, 3 pi over 2, 3, and 2 pi 5. So let's graph those points. 0, 5, pi over 2, 3, pi 1, 3 pi over 2, 3, and then 2 pi 5. And let's graph another cycle here. So then we're back to our midline, back down to our minimum, back to our midline, and then back to our maximum. Midline, minimum, midline, maximum, midline, minimum, midline, maximum. So we're going to get a graph that looks like this. And its domain is going to be negative infinity to infinity. And we can see that the minimum value is going to be 1, and the maximum value is going to be 5. We can see that from the graph and from our characteristic points. So from 1 to 5, the function is boxed in below and above, is bounded there. And that's it for this video. We'll come back next time and we'll start talking about 5.7. See you for the next video.